Hi there, my name is Steve, and I am here to say that it gets better. This is a project that's really important to me, and I hope that it'll be important to you too. A little about myself. I'm 31 years old now, and I had a pretty happy childhood. I rode bikes with my friends, I went to the creek, I looked under rocks to find bugs. I also knew all the words to a ton of Broadway and London musicals, and I was in a theater camp. And that was all great until I turned 12, 13, 14, when the things that I did like and the things that I was supposed to like kind of stopped being the same things. And one of the things I did like was boys, and one of the things I was supposed to like was girls. And I started to look into my future, and at the time I believed it was pretty bleak. I saw this path laid out for me that I was supposed to start dating girls, and eventually settle on one and pick her, and we would get married, and we would have a family, and that felt so stifling. It felt so unnatural. It seemed like some sort of a social prison that I was being sentenced to. And the alternative to me seemed that I was going to have to live at home with my parents as a confirmed bachelor for the rest of my life. And I love my parents, but at the time it wasn't out to them. I come from a fairly conservative Catholic family, and faith is something that's very important to me. They instilled that in me. But in my mind at the time, there wasn't room for being gay and being Catholic and being a member of my own family and being a person in the world, in the suburbs. And so I started to consider a third option, and that was suicide. And I considered that so much that when I was 15, I spent some time in a hospital. And I often think if I could get my present grown-up self to sit down and have a bite to eat with my 15-year-old self or my 13-year-old self, like what would I tell him? And it really comes down to, it gets better. It seriously does. I even look at photos of myself. My friends and I are always saying, like, oh, we look so much better looking now than we did when we were 15. Although I think most people look better than they did in 1994. And so, just a little more about how it got better for me. Like I said, I'm 31 years old. I'm a professional. I work for a college now. I have a master's degree in pastoral ministry. Like I said, faith is very important to me, and it still is. I have a great, welcoming, open, and affirming faith community that is not only tolerant of me being gay, but they desire that. They welcome me as I am. I have really great friends, and I'm in a really great relationship. I've been in a relationship for over 7 years with a great man, and I certainly never thought that was possible. How did this happen? Well, when I went to high school, I found some friends. They weren't the best friends. It wasn't a perfect relationship. But we had some common interests, and we weren't the most popular. We weren't the cool kids. But at the end of the day, I knew I had someone to call. And I bet you do too. I bet there's someone who understands you. They might not be the best friend, it might not be the most romantic and ideal relationship, but there's someone to at least grab a burger with at the mall. When it came time for college, I went to my first choice of college, a place that I chose because I knew I would be happy there. And I was. And I met some of my first lifelong friends. But that choice was based on, can I be happy here? It wasn't based on, is this the most renowned college in the world? is this the most academically challenging institution? I chose it based on whether or not I thought I'd be happy. And after college, I moved to the city. A small city, but is still a city, and cities are places where you're able to find more people like you to be friends with and to eventually date. There are also places where you can find churches and faith communities that are welcoming, open and affirming. And just a little bit about the landscape out there. The bullies and jerks in high school, they kind of disappear after high school. One reason is because a lot of them grow up and change their minds and become nicer people. And a word about them, be gentle with them in the future. It's a good thing that they changed their mind, and that should be celebrated and rewarded. So be the bigger person, and really try and be gentle with them in the future. I certainly don't want anyone to judge me based on what I was like in high school. So, try not to judge them in the future. As for the others, they just don't make it anywhere. The ones who don't change their mind, high school's kind of the end of the line for them. You're going to soar way past them and probably not have all that much interaction with them, the real hardcore bullies. Going to college is really helpful. Getting an education is really helpful. The more educated people are, the more open their minds are. And the more diverse the population becomes. Cities are also good, cities and urban centers where you have more and more people. You don't need to pack up and move to San Francisco or New York. You can if you want to, but really any urban area is going to have enough diversity to keep you going. And finally, there are welcoming and affirming faith communities out there. I am still a Catholic. I still go to church, but I have to be a little more selective about what parishes I visit, and I do have to live with that tension that I'm not going to be totally accepted by many churches, but I do find solace in knowing that no one is totally accepted anywhere, and that helps me as a person. Working with people to really try and keep an open mind. And finally, I came out to my parents, and it had mixed results, to be totally honest. But my parents still loved me. I learned I needed to have more trust in their ability to be flexible. They were not as flexible as I would have wanted them to be, but we worked it out. And I can honestly say I have a very happy relationship with my family. So that's about it. It gets better. Look for people to confide in. Know that they're not going to be perfect. Try and be okay with your imperfections, because you really are still a pretty awesome person. As I've heard people say, God doesn't make junk. So I promise it gets better. I hope this has been helpful.